I left in May of 2022, just for the facts here. And I have seen Biden once since then, when I took my daughter to the holiday party this last December after he had lost. And so I hadn't seen him in person during that period of time. I never saw that person, not a single time. And I was in the Oval Office every day that was on that debate stage. I'm not a doctor. Aging happens quite quickly. Were things that people saw during that period of time that were similar to that or would have been in a category of that? I don't know, possibly, right? And all these books are going to tell us.
Like, do you think that were they actively covering it up? Were they sort of in denial, or was that just a bad debate? Like, what is your read on that?
Well, this is what I mean about cover up is a very loaded term, I think.
Well, it means you knew that it was really bad and you're pretending otherwise versus you're deluding yourself, which I think is what people do a lot.
Well, I understand, but I still think it's like cover up is often like a crime, right? We're talking when people use that term.
They say it's worse than the crime.
People use that term as they relate to Watergate or the covering up of not sharing public information about a war.
Yeah, and I'm not accusing anybody of a crime.
I understand, but other people have used that term, and I think it's a bit of a dangerous term.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about the Democrat Party and their lies, okay? The lies that they continue to tell. If Democrats are talking, then they're lying, okay? And that is especially true when it comes to the story about Joe Biden. And the fact is that he was not cognitively capable of being president of the United States. He was declining in office, and the liberal media in the Democrat Party chose to cover it up. Now, the liberal media is saying, no, we didn't really cover it up. Okay, it's the Democrats' fault. The Democrats covered up and we were misled, right? Now, the Democrats are saying, no, we didn't cover it up either. We just didn't know, right? Apparently, nobody interacted with Joe Biden before the debate that exposed to the world that this guy is not mentally fit enough to be in office, right? That's essentially the story that the liberal media and the Democrats want the American people to believe, right? That is the story that Gavin Newsom is basically telling, right? Just like Jen Psaki, who was a part of the Biden administration, she came out and said, well, I didn't know that Biden was mentally declining, even though, again, she worked with this guy every single day. Well, I didn't really know. And when I left, after I left, I didn't talk to Joe Biden. I didn't see Joe again until after the election, right? That's what she's saying. Gavin Newsom saying something kind of similar, right? As the governor of a major Democrat state was not aware that the president was cognitively declining and apparently did not have that many interactions with the president to be able to make that judgment. So again, I want to talk about it because this BBC interviewer is going to confront Gavin Newsom on lying about Joe Biden and his mental condition and also the downfall of the Democrat Party. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it.
Be candid about the failures of the Democrat Party. How much did your chaotic campaign help create the 47th president?
Well, we're doing a forensic on that, and I think that's a deeper question of what happened.
But it's a good question, isn't it? Because you ran a candidate in Joe Biden, who I think you were having to go into the spin room on in the debate where he couldn't speak.
Yeah. Well, that was a challenging night for all of us, particularly, as you rightfully say, as one of his chief spokespersons at the time, trying to make a case at that moment. And look, I was making a case for what the Biden administration did to strengthen our allies around the world and what I thought was a masterclass in domestic policy making. But obviously, we landed with a 107-day campaign with Kamala Harris. I thought she ran a very good campaign. It was a challenged campaign. Of course, we lost. We lost the popular vote and we lost the electoral vote. We got crushed, and we need to be humble about that, and we need to have some grace, and we need to understand why. Was it because of the incumbency penalty? Was it because of inflation? Was it because of interest rates? Was it because of immigration? Was it because we were too, quote unquote, woke? Was it because of issues with Israel? Was it all of the above? I think we are going through that forensic. We need to understand at the same time, we also have to push back against the whitewaters and headwinds of the Trump administration.
But, I mean, you're leaving something very important off the list, Governor. You also ran a candidate who could not reliably talk, walk, or ride a bicycle. Take me into Gavin Newsom's soul when you had to tell reporters from around the world why the United States president could not complete a sentence.
Well, it was obviously we were challenged as it relates to that debate. But if you're asking about my soul, which I appreciate, You're asking about my direct engagement and interactions with former President Joe Biden, who was not our nominee, but as it relates to his campaign and what those decisions look like, as it relates to his determination whether or not to continue that campaign or end it as he did. I never had, period, full stop. I would be lying to you, and I won't lie to you, as it relates to the direct engagement I had with Joe Biden that ever suggested a cognitive decline to the degree that we saw at that debate night. And so that was a challenging moment. And of course, over the course of the next few weeks, that moment became a monumental decision where he decided to pass that baton, and Kamala Harris, as vice president, became our nominee.
Yeah. So you see that, you heard that. Okay. Gavin Newsom, once again, trying to weasel and snake his way through the answer, right? So Gavin Newsom is basically saying that as the spokesperson for the Biden administration, one of the spokespeople, right? He admitted himself he was running around the country speaking on behalf of the Biden administration. He did not have any interactions with Joe Biden that would make him suggest that he is cognitively declining, right? He didn't see the Joe Biden that we all saw at the debate. Now, we know he's lying, and the reason why you know he's lying is because he had to tell the audience multiple times that he's not lying before answering the question, right? If you have to preface a statement with, I am not lying, right? Now, I wouldn't lie to you about this, then it means that you're probably lying, right? I'm just saying, let's keep it all the way 100, because if Gavin Newsom, if you're not lying, Mr. Newsom, then your judgment is bad, right? If you had direct interactions with the president, but you had no interactions that suggested that he was cognitively declining, okay, when we have reports out about Joe Biden taking a nap and going to sleep in the middle of debate prep, and for whatever reason, this happened, right, all of a sudden, right before the debate, like, that's just not true, right? Everybody knows that's not true. And if you didn't see it, right, if you couldn't tell, okay, then your judgment is bad. Why are you the governor of California? You have bad judgment, right? Because a vast majority of the American people can see it. See, this is what I don't understand about Democrats in this question. They keep getting confronted with this question, but yet they continue to gaslight the American people. And then they turn around and talk about how they need to stop gaslighting the American people, but they continue to still gaslight the American people. If you didn't see it, your judgment is bad. If you did see it, then yes, you are a bad person and you don't have a soul, right? Probably both of those things are true for Gavin Newsom, right? He probably doesn't have a soul, right? And he also has bad judgment. Let's keep it all the way 100. But again, these people are going to come out and say that, well, we need to gain back the trust of the American people. But yet, when it comes to this very basic question about Joe Biden, they're still not doing what they should be doing to get back that trust. That's the funny part about this to me.
And just to my earlier question, when we ask how the circumstances were created, whereby Americans exercise a choice between candidate A and candidate B, a weak, bad campaign by your party helps explain the 47th president.
Well, I think it's a lot of conditions. There are a lot of pre-existing conditions. There were certainly a lot of situational challenges as it relates to the headwinds and the inflation scars and the challenges that we were working through as it relates to the impacts of costs. And of course, those were felt around the globe. It wasn't unique in the United States. But that said, our circumstances are certainly unique. And so, as I say, look, a lot of humility and grace. We lost. He won, period, full stop. And we've got to own up to that, and we've got to get stronger and better.
But you said that the Democrats talk down to people. I'm just looking for a couple of sentences for British viewers who don't know your candor as well as perhaps the others who know you. Just be candid with the Brits. The Democrats messed it up.
Well, we lost, and we didn't make the case, and we didn't meet people where they are. And people right now do not have confidence in the Democratic Party. I love my party, and we have to own that. There was some recent polling, just to underscore it, so people listening and watching can appreciate your question, and I'm trying to be as candid as I can. We were 27% approval in the United States of America. And even with the Democratic Party, Democrats aren't feeling that strong about our party. Now, that's beginning to change. Trump is the obstacle in the way. He's also the obstacle which we will find our way back. That said, we have to own up to the fact that some people, fundamentally, the majority of people that turned out and voted, did not feel we had their interests at heart. And so we have a lot of work to do to re-engage those folks and to get our party back on track.
And the first thing that Democrats should do is acknowledge that they lied about Joe Biden. that they covered up Joe Biden's mental decline. I don't understand what they don't understand about it. Actually, I do understand, because they don't want to admit that they lied, because admitting that they lied means that they lied, right? That is the problem here, right? They don't want to admit that they lied because they claim that they never lied, right? The only people that lie are the Republicans and Trump, right? Democrats just always tell the truth. So they can't admit that they lied. However, if they actually want to gain back credibility, if they want to gain back the trust of the American people, which is what they claim, then they should tell the truth, right? Just come out and say, yes, we knew that Biden was mentally declining. Okay, we just covered up because we didn't want Trump to win. If they just tell the truth, then that would probably help them. But because they never tell the truth about this question that they keep getting confronted on, and the reason why they keep getting confronted on the question is because Democrats not recognizing that Biden was cognitively declining or lying about it, right? And or lying about it, it undermines their credibility. Right? It undermines their credibility. So they're not going to gain back credibility until they stop gaslighting the American people on this issue. And this is why they keep getting confronted about it. And I guarantee you, if the Democrat debates are done properly, right, they're done correctly, this will be a question on the debate stage, right? All of these Democrats are going to get asked about Joe Biden at some point, and they're going to have to come up with better answers than, well, there were no interactions that I had with him that suggested he was cognitively declining, or that, well, I didn't talk to Joe Biden. I didn't speak to Joe Biden until after everybody else knew, right? I mean, that is essentially the answer that most of these Democrats are giving, and it's just not good enough. It just reeks of more gaslighting.
Party back on track.
And thank you for bringing some data. It's no good if I just interrupt you from the UK. And on the other side of that figure, while it was 27 approval of Democrats in Congress, it was 37% approval for Republicans in Congress. So we've spoken about the scale of the problem. Let's look to the future. There's a great talk of a swap, Governor, where Kamala Harris runs for the governor's mansion in California and Governor Newsom runs for the White House in 2028. Will you give us that scoop tonight?
I appreciate it. I don't know about the framework of a swap. That's major determination of the people that I represent currently in the state of California. I don't know the state of mind of the former vice president. She's a close friend and an ally. I was just with her husband, full disclosure, 72 hours ago. He didn't lead me on to any understanding or insight as to what decision she's going to make. She just gave a speech that got some attention a few days ago in San Francisco, but didn't leave many clues about whatever decision she's going to make. Okay. But I am termed out, and I have another 18 months, and we'll see where fate takes us.
Could fate take you to the White House? Would you run?
Well, I was at the White House with President Trump for 90 minutes as governor. I can be there wearing many different hats. I don't know is the answer. I care deeply about my state. I don't want to be one of those politicians bloviating and trying to equivocate on this. I honestly just don't know what fate will hold. I have strong opinions about where my party is, as you noted, and I appreciate this. I've been very candid about that. It's been received well and not so well in certain sectors of my party. Okay. I'm just trying to be candid about my own feelings and trying to be accountable as well about my own contributions as it relates to the state of our party, not just the state of our union here.
Yeah, so he is running, right? That is why he's doing his interview. That is why he is doing his podcast, right? He's trying to become a fake moderate because he knows that the Democrat Party is too far left, right? Except in Gavin Newsom's case, he can't fake being a moderate. Everybody knows he's a flaming progressive. And Kamala Harris is probably going to try to run as well, too, right? I think that Kamala is definitely thinking hard about running again because she probably feels as if she didn't have a fair shot at the White House the last time around. So, again, I wouldn't be surprised to see her pass up running for governor and basically trying to become the Democrat Party nominee. I would not be surprised at all. I think if a primary was held today, it would basically be between her and AOC, right? That's basically who it would come down to at this point, which really says a lot about how the Democrat Party has fallen off of the woke progressive cliff.
Let me turn to your record, because that would be important if you did run. Your critics characterize California as Califalia. You particularly in the firing line over your record on fighting fires when reservoirs were under repair and trying to tackle homelessness with soar-away figures in the wrong direction. Just as a man who's given a mansion by voters, the governor's mansion, Does it keep you awake at night to walk past soulless zombie Americans on fentanyl propping up your pavements?
Yeah, it's disgraceful what's happening on the streets and sidewalks. And I've been the most vocal governor in California history. When I got here, there was no homeless strategy, no homeless plan. 68,000 people we've gone off the streets and sidewalks. And I'll note, before I got here, we had a 50% increase over 5 years in the number of homeless. In California, there were 44 states that had higher growths last year. We had the lowest numbers we've ever seen for vets, and we made tremendous progress as it relates to unsheltered homeless, and we're finally moving in the right direction. But it is an absolute disgrace, decades in the making. I own responsibility over the last 6 years, but I also am proud to have been the author of a lot of strategies that we believe are having an impact, and we're just getting started. Now, that said, let me add this. We're the fourth largest economy in the world. We just asserted ourselves in that stead. We're population growing. We dominate in every key industry. We have more Fortune 500 companies in the state, dominate in two-way trade, scientists, engineers, more Nobel laureates and venture capital, any other state in the country. All of those things are true. And as it relates to those wildfires, we are proud of the fact that California has the most aggressive firefighting fleet in the country, and I acknowledge the devastation of these fires, but you should acknowledge that we had 110 engines pre-positioned for them. We were on site within 90 minutes, and that devastation is very raw and real, and we're doing everything we can to get that part of our state recovered.
Yeah, so again, more slick talking, right, from Gavin Newsom. The reality is that since 2019, when this guy took over, $24 billion has been spent to fight homelessness, and homelessness has increased. It didn't decrease. It's been going up by 14% per year under Gavin Newsom, but he thinks that's a success. Oh, well, California's economy is the fourth largest in the world. Well, California's quote-unquote success is in spite of Democrat policies, not because of Democrat policy. It is because California has great weather, great natural resources, great location, right? Great industry, again, because of all of those natural resources, right? I mean, I think California's success has more to do with its geographic location than the policies of the Democrat Party, to be honest with you, right? But they want to pretend as if the policies are so great. It's so amazing if you make America like California. But a lot of these liberal cities that have adopted these California policies have become absolute disasters, right? And this is why you're saying states in the South adopt policies that basically go in the opposite direction, and they are growing because of it, right? I think Texas and Florida is a much better model than California, right? I think that Texas and Florida have maximized their natural resources, considering their geographic locations, due to the policies. But when it comes to California, they can be a lot better, right? Could you imagine if you had a pro-business DeSantis type governor running California, how great of a state California could be, right? It would be the United States of America and then California number 2. If you had an actual, again, DeSantis type Republican running that state, right? But, you know, I mean, ultimately at the end of the day, Gavin Newsom here is just another one of these Democrats that don't get it, right? None of these Democrats really understand it. They don't get it. As long as they continue to gaslight the American people, try to pretend that, the sky is not blue, right? As long as they continue to do that, then they're going to have issues when it comes to credibility, right? Even the most snake oilsman-like Democrats, like, for example, Gavin Newsom, fails when it comes to being confronted about covering up Joe Biden's mental decline, right? Coming out here and saying, well, I didn't interact with him enough, or I didn't see it, or I didn't know, is not enough. It's not enough. Something is wrong. Your judgment is wrong, right? Your judgment is bad, or you lied, right? I just wish that Democrats would stop lying to American people about this issue, but they won't, right? They're not going to, and as long as they continue to gaslight, it's going to haunt them. I guarantee you this issue is going to haunt them going into the primaries. But let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.